Hi, I'm Stefan from Bezro, and this is the Terraforming Mars Survival Guide. The Terraforming Mars Survival Guide is designed to help new players with tips to survive their first few games and to avoid being crushed by other corporations. Terraforming Mars is a resource management engine building game from Fryxgames where each player plays a corporation on a mission to terraform Mars. You'll want to follow these tips to be more competitive in your early games. If you're looking for how to play, check out the link in the description below for resources. When first starting a game of Terraforming Mars, you'll draw and pick from 10 cards for your opening hand. Your target should be about 4 to 6 cards, which is enough to start turn 1. Holding on to a couple speculative expensive cards if they fit a theme is fine, but too many will eat your early economy. Terraforming Mars tip number 2. This is the beginner corporation. You know that because it says beginner corporation. The rulebook says to take this card for new players. I would recommend not doing that because all of these other cards are both more powerful in the long run as well as they give you more interesting choices. Now the idea is that this simple corporation that gives you a bunch of money and a bunch of free cards that you don't have to pay for might be easier to digest for somebody, and you don't have to know about strategy or things. If I just take 10 random cards, they don't have anything to do with each other. They don't have anything to do with each other. And so they end up generating a completely random strategy. Instead, if you take this set of cards and you focus down on just things that matter, you can pick a direction early on, and then that'll help you win the game. All of these different corporations have their own special strategies, and it says so right on the card. This says, do heat things. This says, do space and titanium things, and really focus on Jupiter cards. And so that gives you a hint on what you should be doing in the early stages of the game. Don't take the beginner corporation. The third beginner tip. There are milestones and there are awards. When you learn the game, they're going to talk about how you pay 8 for each one of these milestones when you've achieved the mission, and the missions are laid out right here. So you have the terraformer, mayor, gardener, builder, and planner that focus on having terraform rating, enough cities, enough forests, built enough builder cards, where you have enough cards in your hand. They're worth 5 points apiece. The awards are worth 5 points or 2 points if you're the runner-up. And it's about having the most tokens on the board, having the most money production, which really means money, not money plus terraform rating, having the most science cards, having the most heat energy in your stockpiles, and then minor, which is having the most steel and titanium resources. What I've noticed happens is that beginners often forget these two areas, and getting 5 points each of them, and you can have 3 max of both, is a lot of points. It's 15 and 15. So don't forget to invest heavily in these. That's a big part of your win. A typical win has 80 to 100 points, sometimes lower, sometimes higher, but in that ballpark. And so 30 is a big chunk of that, and you can definitely swing the points in your favor by focusing on these as part of your early goals. So tip number 4, action cards. So action cards are some of the most powerful cards in the game to play because it gives you an ongoing effect. And they fall into a couple of different categories, and I've got them kind of grouped out here on the table. So over on the left here, we have the cards that give you resources. So every one of these cards builds some type of resource into your deck, either passively or actively. Then all the passive effects that make you better at playing the game, such as adaptation technology that lets you play cards outside of what their requirements are. There's cards that draw, cards that give points, this column, and then finally there's cards that give you terraforming goals, so building oceans or building thermal ratings or temperature. Then there's a special category that I put into the center here, which is a combination of resources and then points, but these focus on cities. So whenever a city is placed or whenever you have a number of cities on the board, you get something. So in this case you get money or an animal or money or money. And these are actually some of the most powerful cards in the game right here. The card draw is also critically important, so I would focus in these areas if possible. And finally, our last tip for beginner players. You're limited to 4 cards to draw per turn by base. And if you focused on production in the early part of the game, building all of your resources, by the end of the game, you're going to outpace your ability to draw cards, and you'll be able to play everything all at once. So extra card draw becomes an incredibly powerful hidden resource available to you. These are the card draw cards, focused between the action cards and then the other cards that have one-time effects. And so playing these cards lets you draw an additional card that lets you replace the card that they have. And then this one that gives you an extra bonus card. The action cards, though, are really the crux of the power because they're repeatable. Every turn you get to do them. So as the game progresses and your economy outpaces your ability to draw cards, focusing on card draw is a way that you can continue to maximize the utility of your economy. So that's all of our beginner tips for the Terraforming Mars Survival Guide. If you enjoyed this guide, click the like button and subscribe. And check out our next video on advanced tips for more advanced strategies available to beginner players.